All right, welcome to the show, everybody. I'm not kidding when I say this may be our biggest show of all time. The number of colossal news stories I have for you, I mean, I've never been through anything like this, and I'm talking, I've been doing this show full time since 2012, and that's how big of a day it is. Okay, so in just a second, we're going to talk about updates on the Israel-Iran war. It is officially on, y'all. I mean, Iran is showing no mercy. They're going absolutely ballistic on Israel. They are launching missiles, wave after wave after wave of missiles. The missiles are landing an overwhelming Iron Dome. So I'll have a lot to say about that. We'll also get to the No Kings anti-Trump protest, literally being the biggest protest in U.S. history. We're talking about a moment so tumultuous in U.S. history that it rivals the 1960s. Which was historically tumultuous because you had assassinations seemingly every other day. So a lot to say about that. Trump is also furious over his military parade flop. Got amazing pictures and videos. You're not going to want to miss that segment. Then we'll talk about the MAGA terrorism that hit Minnesota and the fact that the right cannot stop lying about it. It is lie after lie after lie. I've never seen such a massive, coordinated gaslighting effort, but it's here. And then we'll also talk about MAGA is now ripping themselves to shreds over war with Iran. You have different factions that are emerging. I'll break that all down for you. We have an epic rant from Tim Dillon going after the Iran warmongers. And then later on today, Nick Fuentes admits I was right. I don't know. When are people going to realize, bro? When are they going to realize? I'm always right. Maybe they're just starting now. Maybe they're just starting to get it now. All right, so we'll get to all that and more. You guys know the drill. Everybody do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out massively in the algorithm and costs you nothing at all. And extra love to all of you who support this show on Patreon. It could not be done without you. This is real independent media. There's a lot of assholes out there pretending what they really are is new corporate media or fake independent media. This is real independent media. I'm very thankful for all of you who donate $5 a month on Patreon. That link's below. You can also tip with the thanks button on YouTube. You can subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends. That link is below as well. It's the Substack link. And everybody go subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel because we're dropping Kyle and Corin podcasts over there. You don't want to miss that either. And we're trying to get him to 100,000 subscribers. So hook a brother up with a subscription. All right, guys, let's dive into it. So, as you all know, Israel decided they were going to launch an offensive, aggressive war against Iran. They started it. Let's not get that twisted. Let's just lay out the basic facts here. That's what happened, is they decided we are going to launch an offensive, aggressive war against Iran. Well, as you all know, Trump greenlit this behind the scenes. That has been leaked to this point. There was no way that Israel would have done what they did without the go-ahead from the United States of America. And as a direct result of that, man, are these old videos of Trump kind of curious. They are kind of curious. So here he is during the Obama administration, and here's what he had to say about war with Iran back then. Ready?
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective.
There is always a tweet. There is always a video. There's always something which renders Trump absolutely humiliated. If I scripted this, you would say, little too much. Little too on the nose, isn't it? All right, so here's Trump in 2018 announcing his pulling out of the Iran deal, which, by the way, they were completely abiding by. The IAEA had gone in there over a dozen times and validated that, yes, Iran is abiding by this deal perfectly. And here he is, simply to spite Obama, announcing that he pulled out of the deal. Here we go.
I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal. In a few moments, I will sign a presidential memorandum to begin reinstating U.S. nuclear sanctions on the Iranian regime. We will be instituting the highest level of economic sanction. Any nation that helps Iran in its quest for nuclear weapons could also be strongly sanctioned by the United States. America will not be held hostage to nuclear blackmail.
Now, let's be clear. If Trump just simply didn't do this, we would not be in this position that we're in right now. If he just left that deal alone and took the W, we wouldn't be in this position right now. In fact, if Joe Biden did what he said he would do on the campaign trail, which is get back in that exact same nuclear agreement, we wouldn't be where we are right now. So there were so many off-ramps to this. But they decided, let's be warmongers. That's what they decided. Okay, we're just getting started, y'all. So then we also have this. I'm going to show you here. This is a compilation of videos over the years. And this is the number of times that Israel and the U.S. have made the bogus claim that Iran is just a couple months away from creating a nuclear weapon. It is legendary how long they've been saying this bullshit. They've been saying it since the early 1990s. Oh, in 2 months they'll have a nuke. And every single time, the deadline would come and go, and they wouldn't have a nuke. You want to know why? Because they actually weren't pursuing a nuke. Now, as of this moment, they'd be crazy not to pursue a nuke. Crazy, because they're under attack. But back then, they had no interest in a nuke. In fact, they called it un-Islamic to have a nuke. Here we go. Let's watch this.
Take Iran about 12 months to enrich enough nuclear material for a single nuclear weapon.
United States.
So that was in 2023. That guy said that.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is warning that Iran is potentially just months away or less from nuclear breakpoint.
That was in 2021. Blinken said that.
Iran is 2 months away from a nuclear weapon, and it's a victory to get them 1 year away?
Iran
That was 2015 that they said that.
could be less than a month away from building a nuclear weapon.
Netanyahu
That was 2013 they said that.
has made 2 tough-talking TV appearances, saying that Iran is just months away from making a nuclear bomb.
What is important to
That was 2012 he said that.
understand is that you have to dismantle the entire terror empire, and especially before its main practitioners, the terror states of Iran and Iraq, acquire nuclear weapons. And this, I think, has been a wake-up call from hell. It is telling us you have the power now to act.
That was 2001, Netanyahu said that. There's also an article in the New York Times from 1995 saying Iran is just about to get a nuke. Do you see what's going on yet? The arguments in this country rely on you not knowing anything and not researching anything. Like, they literally rely on everybody being colossally ignorant about everything all the time. Now, by the way, this is from this Trump term. The head of DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, she said this in a committee hearing. Ready?
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Wow. That is from this Trump term. Director of National Intelligence saying they're not making a nuke. So here's what Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying for a very, very long time. Here he is in 2002 testifying in front of Congress. Listen to this.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age. Something new is happening.
So here he is in 2002, right before the illegal invasion of Iraq, saying if you topple Saddam Hussein, it'll have enormous positive reverberations throughout the region. That is so immensely wrong that the word wrong doesn't do it justice. We need to invent a new word that's stronger than the word wrong. Like world historic, colossally, gargantuanly wrong. That is insane. The exact opposite happened. You had the rise of Al-Qaeda. You had the rise of ISIS. ISIS took over large swaths of the Middle East. You had failed states. I mean, look at what they did to Libya. Open slave markets now in Libya because they toppled Gaddafi after he gave up his weapons of mass destruction. What he's saying could not be further from the truth. And this is the guy now that's steering not only Israeli foreign policy, but U.S. foreign policy under Trump. 5-alarm fire if I've ever seen one. Now, by the way, this is incredible. Look at this headline from the New York Post. Trump keeps door open to Iran nuclear deal after Israel strikes. Maybe now it will happen. Maybe now it will happen. So, understand something, guys. Trump greenlit this Israeli attack. He greenlit it. But he may genuinely be stupid enough to have fallen for a line of bullshit from Netanyahu. Because I'm convinced Netanyahu said to Trump, "Sir, I know you want a deal, and I bet you're going to get a deal, but the way to get a deal is to first allow us to assassinate their nuclear scientists, top military officials, and top political officials, and attack their nuclear sites. If you let us launch a war, sir, it'll avoid a war." I've never seen anybody this stupid with this much power. I really think Trump, we know he greenlit the attack, but I really think there's a decent chance he was convinced that, hey man, if you do this, it'll actually help you get a deal. And then as the rockets are in the sky from both sides, he's going, anybody want a deal? Anybody want a deal? The hot war is already here, you fucking asshole. You greenlit it. Oh my God. All right, look at this, guys. Israel launched its initial attack on Iran, mostly from Syria. So Ben Norton says, the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran was made possible by the U.S.-backed overthrow of the Assad government in Syria. The U.S., Israel, Turkey, and Gulf monarchies waged a war on Syria for a decade, destroying the Syrian state and setting the stage for the colonial U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. So I told you guys, when Assad fell and the former al-Qaeda leader took over Syria and became the new president of Syria, Israel started taking over large swaths of Syria, and they also bombed Syria. And it was a declarative statement of, hey, we're here and we are keeping this land that we just stole in Syria. Now, of course, one of the reasons they take that land is because they want to create a greater Israel. They want to expand Israel. But beyond that, it gives them a better spot to launch offensive attacks against Iran. That's another reason why they're holding that territory. You're not going to be surprised to hear this, y'all. The U.S. quietly delivered hundreds of Hellfire missiles to Israel before its unprecedented attack on Iran on Friday, Middle East Eye can reveal. So just like we learned that the Trump regime pulled U.S. troops out of the region, took them out of the military bases that were around Iran, just like they did that, now we know they were quietly sending them Hellfire missiles leading up to this offensive attack. So in other words, further evidence. Of course they knew it was going to happen, and of course Trump greenlit the operation. This is a strategy that they've used many times. Trump basically fakes diplomacy to lull Iran into thinking there is no current threat, and that's when they attack. This is literally what they did with Qasem Soleimani when Trump assassinated him in his first term. They pretended like, oh, we're interested in diplomacy. Let's do some diplomacy. Let's meet in this place. And then boom, they attacked and killed him. So don't fall for the bullshit. Don't fall for the head fakes. Iran's energy infrastructure situation right now. Iran's South Pars gas field struck, shutting down 12 million cubic meters of gas production per day. Shahran oil field in western Tehran on fire after Israeli strike. Israeli strikes hit 2 oil depots in Tehran, setting them on fire. Iran says production at world's largest gas field has been partially suspended due to Israeli strike. Multiple oil refineries in Iran are reportedly on fire. Iran currently produces 3.3 million barrels of crude oil per day, or about 3.5% of global supply. At the current pace, we were set to witness one of the largest one-day increases in oil prices in 20 years. Holy shit. So, they're now officially going after Iran's oil infrastructure. But wait for it, because Iran did the same thing right back to Israel. Breaking, Iranian missile strikes Haifa as retaliation begins. Iran launched a hybrid attack on Israel, combining missiles and drones targeting key cities, according to Iran's official news agency. Channel 13 reports that missiles struck the northern coastal city of Haifa and the nearby town of Tamra. Al Jazeera's journalist here notes the attack on Haifa was expected, as the area is home to Israeli gas fields. This appears to be Iran's initial retaliation for Israel's recent strikes on the South Pars gas field near Bushehr and the Abadan oil refinery. Iranian officials are promising this is only the beginning, with more waves expected to hit Haifa, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem. All right, so I'll show you some of the videos we got here. This is from Dropsite News. You can see the the Israeli infrastructure on fire here, their energy infrastructure. More. You can see it from a distance. They attacked power plants as well. Mass blackouts, big electric outages all over the place because of the attacks on power plants and energy infrastructure. All right, more. Clear footage showing Iran's missiles making direct impact on Haifa power plant in Israel. Here we go. Wow. Wow. Multiple impacts you can see. All right, more. Nearly all missiles Iran fired in this wave were 20 to 30-year-old models, but watch the single newer generation missile that struck Haifa, then watch the electricity go out. Wait until Iran empties its old stockpile, then things will get more interesting. So here we go. I need you to pay attention here because the older missiles are really slow and really laboring. And then one of the newer generation missiles, you'll see. This thing is like, it's a totally different breed of weapon. Jesus Christ. One more time. This is incredible. So these other things in the sky are the older missiles, and then the one that comes in at 1,000 miles an hour is the new one. Ooh. Power immediately out. Immediately out. So this is Tel Aviv. And by the way, I should be clear, these attacks are from different waves of attacks. There's already been a number of different waves of attacks. Some of these are from the first wave, some of these are from later on. So when you see something coming from the ground and going up, that's Iron Dome attempting to intercept these Iranian missiles. But Iron Dome has largely failed to intercept these missiles because the Iranian missiles are overwhelming Israel's defenses. So this isn't like fighting Hamas, where they have like bottle rockets put together with duct tape and they use that as a missile. These are like real weapons now. Wow. Wow. Did you see that at the end? Holy shit. Wow. Wow. And we got countless videos like this. Iran struck the Kiryat compound, Israel's equivalent to the U.S. Pentagon. Fox News confirms. So here's Fox News talking about that.
Trey Yingst has been up all night, is standing by with all the details. Trey, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Laura, following that Israeli attack against Iranian nuclear facilities and top IRGC leadership overnight and into today, the Iranians have responded with 3 waves of ballistic missiles. This is Israel's version of the Pentagon, the Kiryat. And the building on this compound was just hit.
Please go back, go back, please.
You can understand here, it's very tense at this specific location because the Iranians are now targeting the defense establishment of Israel. And so I'm going to have my cameraman pan up here to this building just across the street from the Kiryat. And
so yelling at journalists, they really don't want journalists to see the damage that was done. This is more from Tel Aviv. Here we go. Wow. You can literally see the shockwave. Watch. Holy cow, man. Holy cow. All right, more. Trita Parsi says, like in Beirut and Gaza, Israel is hitting residential and commercial areas with no regard for civilians. Horrific scene of Israel hitting the well-known Tajrish neighborhood in northern Tehran. So let's take a look at this video here. You can see the smoke. Wow, look at all the damage. Holy shit. You see all these cars, and in the road you got all this debris. Now, by the way, I should also point out how quick everything has escalated here. Because like I said, you had the initial wave of attacks from Israel going after top military officials, top political officials, but also hitting apartment buildings where civilians were to get other political officials. And then Iran retaliates, and then Israel goes right to attack their energy. And if you attack their energy, what you're really flirting with is Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, which would have global economic implications. So, and, you know, Iran immediately retaliated by striking Israeli energy. So this is really, really just getting started. Look at this. Breaking. Netanyahu says Israel attacked Iran because Ayatollah Khamenei was planning to carry out another Holocaust on the Jewish people. The rhetoric surrounding this war is eerily similar to the rhetoric leading up to the Iraq war, WMD, uranium, aluminum tubes, etc., etc. That's exactly right. He really expects everybody to believe that Khamenei was on the brink of, setting up concentration camps and gas chambers. Meanwhile, Israel actually does have concentration camps. You have protests in Israel for the right to rape Palestinian hostages. Gaza is just a massive open-air prison, a clear concentration camp, starving people to death, bombing them there on a daily basis, luring them in with humanitarian aid, and then killing them. And you expect everybody to believe that, no, it was actually Iran that was on the brink of doing a genocide against Israel? Please. It's incredible. It's incredible. Iran's armed forces gives warning to settlers. All occupied lands will be targeted. If you want to save your lives, leave occupied lands. Wow. So, look, we don't know. To be clear, the Iranians are known for using a lot of rhetoric that seems over the top. So this could just be a threat, or if Israel keeps attacking them, they could make good on this threat, right? So we don't know until it actually happens, but I'm sure you've seen the comments coming out of top Iranian officials after Israel attacks them. You know, they have like these long poems about the death and destruction that will be rained down on Israel, but they are threatening, we are going to attack all occupied lands. All right, more. Israel targeted the Iranian Foreign Ministry and hit the library of its think tank. Researchers from this think tank have been very active in Track 2 diplomacy. Its head recently spoke on the same panel as Barbara Leaf from the U.S. State Department. Israel is killing diplomats. They're killing diplomats. So just like they killed their nuclear scientists, including their top scientist, they're also going after the people who are directly involved in the negotiations. They're attacking the buildings of the people who do the negotiations. The move here from Israel is to try to make it so that it's literally impossible for any sort of deal to come about, because their goal is regime change. Their goal is regime change, and they will stop at nothing to get that. Israel is now setting off car bombs in downtown Tehran. This is literally the definition of terrorism, not expecting European states to condemn it because it's very difficult to have any faith in their integrity, but that doesn't mean that Europeans aren't damaging themselves. Iranian footage purportedly shows the aftermath of one of the 5 car bombs activated across Tehran. Wow. So this reminds me of the beeper attacks. The beeper attacks that they did in Lebanon, which they claim was going after Hezbollah, but of course they got massive numbers of innocent people. So now, I want you to take note of the game that Netanyahu is playing here, okay? Because as we already pointed out, Trump greenlit this attack, but he genuinely may have been stupid enough to think, even though I'm greenlighting this attack, in the long run, it might make it more likely I get a deal. Well, now, Netanyahu is doing everything he can to try to get Trump to greenlight American boots on the ground. Now, understand, we're already helping them from the air. That's already been reported. We're already involved directly in this war. But he wants American boots on the ground. He wants a regime change effort in Iran. He wants the U.S. to do the dirty work. And so here he is. Take note of exactly how his arguments are structured here to speak to an audience of one. Donald Trump. Watch.
These people who chant death to America, tried to assassinate President Trump twice, killed 241 of your Marines in Beirut, killed and injured thousands of American soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, tried to bomb a restaurant in Washington, D.C., chant death to America, burn the American flag. Do you want these people to have nuclear weapons?
So see what he did there? He spoke about the 2 assassination attempts on Trump, and he said that was Iran trying to do. There is literally zero evidence Iran had anything to do with that. But he's trying to make it personal to Trump so that Trump goes, I want to protect myself. I want to protect myself. We got to do regime change. It's really incredible.
Means to deliver them to your cities? Of course not. Yeah. So we're defending ourselves, but we're also defending the world.
I want to talk about...
We're defending ourselves, says the guy who launched the offensive attack against Iran. There was zero indication there was an imminent attack coming from Iran. The idea that they try to pull this bullshit... Look, what I'll say is the lead up to the Iraq war, the propaganda effort was very intensive. I mean, they literally did not stop. Day in, day out, trying to make the case that Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, and more importantly, he's about to fucking use them on us, right? That's the argument that neocons made leading up to the Iraq war. This time, there was no massive propaganda effort leading up to the offensive Israeli attack on Iran. So now they're trying to play catch up, and he's trying to play the victim when it's very obvious this is cry bully shit. Everybody knows you started it. And by the way, that was kind of clear on its face based on the fact that you were already currently bombing Gaza and Lebanon and Yemen and doing mission creep and trying to take over the entire West Bank. Nobody's going to think the country currently engaged in 4 wars, like, oh, in this one instance, they happen to be on the defensive? Please spare me. What do you think? We have the fucking IQ of a mosquito?
I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes.
Look at the ease with which he lies. The ease with which he lies.
Well, through their intel, yes, they want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number 1. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with them in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means...
See what he's doing here? Stroking his ego also. Oh, he's so much stronger and better than the other presidents. I mean, he wasn't negotiating from a position of weakness. What he's saying there is Trump took the right position when he said, we're not allowing any enrichment of uranium at all, not even for your power grid, not even for scientific research. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what's called a poison pill in the negotiations. That's like, we're going to make a demand that's so over the top that, by the way, Iran has a right under international law to enrich for those reasons. So they took that hardline position knowing it would tank the negotiations, right? And now Netanyahu is heaping praise on Trump for that poison pill. You see how he's playing him like a fucking fiddle here?
Pathway to the bomb, padding it with billions and billions of dollars. He took up this fake agreement and basically tore it up.
Fake agreement, the agreement that was working. The Obama agreement that was 100% working according to every expert who was directly involved in it. This guy is incredible. This guy needs to be locked up. Holy fucking shit. What a criminal.
He killed Qasem Soleimani. He said, made it very clear, including now, you cannot have a nuclear weapon, which means you cannot enrich. He's been very forceful. So for them, he's enemy number one. Yeah. Look, they also tried to kill me, but I'm his junior partner.
Oh, man. Tee-hee-hee. Who, me? I'm just small beans. Tee-hee. Oh, my God. The dishonesty.
And they understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them.
By the way, remember, guys, they weren't making a nuke. They weren't doing that. But now they'd be fucking insane not to because they're under direct aggressive attack. I mean, if you're in their shoes, of course now you're going to be like, shit, we need a nuke. Case in point, North Korea has nukes, and that makes it so that the West can't really fuck with them, right? Because they know, hey, if we try to do something against North Korea, they'll just launch against Seoul, South Korea, and destroy everything. And so now we're in a position where we can't do shit. Now, on the flip side, look at Libya. Gaddafi gave up his weapons of mass destruction, and then he was sodomized with a bayonet, and they did regime change, and now there's open slave markets in Libya. So you see the message that's sent to these people? It's like, you need a nuke for deterrence.
Pilots are shooting down drones that are headed towards Israel, as do our pilots. American THAAD missile batteries are helping defend Tel Aviv and greater Tel Aviv area. American Aegis ships are in the Mediterranean. That's all a decision by President Trump, which I deeply appreciate. Again, his decisions on what to do at any given time is the president's decision. I trust his judgment completely.
Oh, my God. Look at how he's playing him. And by the way, he was also validating there. Well, you guys are already directly involved in this war, so why not go a step further? Why not go a step further? All right, from Dropsite News. Israeli strikes across Iran kill at least 406 and wound at least 654, according to a rights group. Washington-based group, human rights activists, say Israeli airstrikes in Iran have killed 406 people and injured 654, based on verified local sources via the AP. Here's the breakdown. Israel's already killed 197 Iranian civilians, 90 military personnel, 100 civilians are wounded, and 71 troops are wounded. Moments ago, an Israeli strike on a residential building in downtown Tehran killed 5 people, Iranian state TV reported. Okay. This report was floating around from Reuters, but understand, guys, part of this actual warfare being waged against Iran, there's an information war going on as well. So now Reuters is reporting Trump vetoed an Israeli plan to kill Iran's supreme leader. So again, the purpose of this is to try to lull them into a false sense of security and to try to make it so the Grand Ayatollah goes about his day like he normally would. So potentially they can take him out. This is what's happening here. If you buy this nonsense that Trump vetoed the plan to kill the supreme leader, I have a fucking bridge to sell you. This is fake, just like Trump's Gaza ceasefire was completely fake. Just like so many other things he's done. We're going to have another round of negotiations on Sunday with Iran. That was completely fake. The point was to use diplomacy to lull them into a false sense of security to then attack. Right? That's what they did with Qasem Soleimani when they murdered him. And that's exactly what they're doing here. So as I pointed out, I said, this is 100% fake, just like Trump's Gaza ceasefire was fake and his Sunday negotiation with Iran was fake. Don't fall for the information warfare that they're waging. Okay, more. So this is from Haaretz. The government has ordered airlines not to take Israelis abroad, even when rescue flights begin. So as Dan Cohen says, the Zionist regime is forcing Israelis to stay in the country against their will. All the claims about Palestinians using human shields were projection, of course. So that is wild, man, to launch an illegal and offensive attack against a country that didn't attack you, and then that country fights back, and now you're telling the civilians in your own country, oh, by the way, you can't leave. Now, at the same time in Iran, look, understand something. The government of Iran, they are Shia Islamist theocrats, right? It is an authoritarian country. Everybody knows that. So there's nothing to defend when it comes to their social issues and their domestic policies. Now, having said that, there was one thing that could happen, which would actually make the entire public rally around the flag. And that thing is an illegal and offensive and aggressive strike from Israel against Iran. So now, all over social media, we have stuff like this, right? Here's somebody tweeting or posting, I was born in an Iranian prison. My parents were held in their jails. My uncles lie in their mass graves. Nothing you can tell me about the crimes of the Iranian regime that I haven't lived in blood and bone. That doesn't mean I want my people bombed, maimed, killed, their homes in ruins. If your vision of liberation comes only through the destruction of innocent lives, then it's not freedom you're after. So even people who are under the repressive boot of the Iranian theocracy, even they're like, no, I don't want Israel to launch an offensive war against this country and kill massive numbers of civilians, because they know Israel doesn't actually care about Iranian civilian lives, despite whatever they fucking pretend. Here's another one. I was raised as Baha'i in Iran, which meant being denied access to higher education and treated as a second-class citizen in my own country. I was arrested, tortured. My father was imprisoned and tortured. My family lived under constant harassment. My sister, my brother, my closest friends, my brother-in-law, we all suffered under a system built on oppression and the deeply rooted anti-Baha'i sentiment that persists in Iran. And yet, despite all of this, I do not and will never wish for my homeland to be bombed or invaded. No matter how much pain I've experienced, I cannot support violence as a path to justice. Iran is still my home. Its people are still my people. I long for a future shaped not by war or retribution, but by dignity, freedom, and peace for everyone. So now, again, all these people who have every reason in the world to hate the Iranian Islamic theocracy authoritarian government, they're all going, yeah, I hate the government, but I don't want an offensive war waged by Israel that's going to kill my countrymen. That's insane. All right, more. This is scary because I've seen so many different indications out there that perhaps false flag attacks are on the table to try to build U.S. support for boots on the ground in Iran. So here's Mike Pompeo, who looks like a fucking deflated balloon because he's probably taking colossal amounts of Ozempic. And here's what he has to say.
Careful who you are around in terms of large events, Jewish events. I mean, this sounds like we've gone backwards decades in terms of the threat on Jewish lives. But that's exactly what this is also about.
By the way, that is Rich talking about the threat on Jewish lives at the same time that Iranians are the ones who were offensively attacked by Israel. What about the threat to Palestinian lives? What about the threat to Iranian lives? What about the threat to Muslim lives? It's amazing the way that they twist themselves into these intellectual pretzels and do mental gymnastics to always come back to the right's main identity politics focus, which is always anti-Semitism.
Harris, I actually think it's just the converse of that. I do agree this could be a very high tension, stressful, and indeed there may be an event somewhere in the world. It's not just...
Damn, look at Pompeo's nussy, bro. His nussy game is honestly on par with Trump's. Holy shit. He's got a beefy nussy. Jesus.
The missiles or drones, they'll fly to Israel, but the Iranian IRGC, the very leadership the Israelis destroyed last night, has been working in nearly every country around the world, including the United States of America, to plant little terror cells all across the world. Hezbollah was doing the same. So this will be a very difficult period. But in the end, this was not a reckless attack, but indeed what they did was decent and just and righteous, and will reduce risk to the Jewish diaspora around the world. And for Israel and for the United States of America, a really good set of outcomes are in the offing. So long as Israel is prepared to finish the task, and as long as the world unites to provide continued deterrence and defense to prevent Iran from conducting all kinds of attacks. I think of cyber threats that will probably be projected around the world too. Iranians have a great cyber program. So lots of vectors for them to respond. We all need to be alert and responsive and do everything we can to deter them from coming after any American anywhere in any field.
So understand what he's doing here. He is relying on the ignorance of the American public to try to get a fast one by them. Because here's the reality. When you talk about terror attacks against the West, it always comes from Salafi jihadists, which are basically Sunni fundamentalist Muslims. So that really originates more from Saudi Arabia, for example. That's who ISIS is. That's who Al-Qaeda is. These are the people that actually do terror attacks against the West. In Iran, it's an Islamic theocracy, but it's a Shia Islamic theocracy. Shia are not the ones who are doing jihad around the globe. That's not a thing. So he's trying to conflate these things in your mind and make you think like, oh, there's Iranian terror cells there. No, there's fucking not. And the fact that he's saying this and other things I've seen too lead me to believe they might try to do some false flag attack and then blame it on Iran to try to make the American public support putting U.S. boots on the ground in Iran. And understand something, guys. I'm telling you this beforehand. So let's sit back and watch. And unfortunately, I think it may happen. But at least you're awake to it and you'll know the reality of what they're trying to do. All right, more. Republican pollster finds 61% of Americans say it's more important to keep the U.S. out of a wider war in the Middle East than it is to help Israel. 61%. This is a Republican pollster. By the way, if you were to just ask the question, should the U.S. go to war with Iran? That shit probably polls at like 10% or less. Nima Shirazi with a great thread here. The political and media blitz to justify Israeli aggression and war crimes against Iran is in full swing. As you see the inevitably ridiculous coverage unfold, remember this. Iran has exactly 0 nuclear bombs. Israel has a stockpile of 80 to 100 plus nuclear bombs. Iran has no nuclear weapons program. Israel has an active nuclear weapons program. Iran's non-military nuclear energy program is the most rigorously monitored on Earth. Israel's nuclear weapons program is not regulated at all. Iran is an original member of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel has never signed the NPT and refuses to do so. Iran has called for a nuclear weapons-free zone in the Middle East for decades. Israel is the sole country in the region that refuses to discuss a nuclear weapons-free zone. The IAEA has affirmed time and again that Iran has never taken steps to divert nuclear material to military purposes. For nearly 2 decades, the consensus view of the U.S. intelligence community and its allies, including Israel, is that Iran has no active nuclear weapons program. U.S., European, and Israeli intel has also long officially maintained that whatever research relevant to nuclear weaponization Iran may have conducted in the past stopped by 2003 and never restarted. But there's more. Even allegations that Iran had an active nuclear weapons program before 2003 are dubious at best and all rely on Israeli-linked evidence that is most likely completely fabricated, just as this former IAEA director. The authenticity of Israeli accusations has been repeatedly questioned by the IAEA as well as by the United States itself. In his 2011 memoir, Age of Deception, El-Baradei explains how Israeli allegations were laundered through U.S. intel but never actually shared with the IAEA. The U.S., quote, did not share the supposed evidence that had led them to confirm the existence of a past Iranian nuclear weapons program other than to refer to the same unverified set of allegations about weaponization studies that had already been discussed with the agency. When Israel provided the IAEA with more allegedly incriminating documentation in 2009, no one was fooled. El-Baradei explains, quote, the agency's technical experts, however, raised numerous questions about the document's authenticity. So he goes on to explain here the reality of the situation, which is who's the real threat here? Who's the real threat? Maybe it's the people who just launched the offensive attack. Ken Klippenstein says, Israel's strike on Iranian nuclear facility is causing chemical and radiological contamination, IAEA chief tells UN Security Council. So because of the Israeli attacks on Iran, we now have chemical and radiological contamination. Now, here's the part, again, where you have to look out for the information warfare. Because, according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, Iran has been urgently signaling that it seeks an end to hostilities and resumption of talks over its nuclear programs, sending messages to Israel and the U.S. via Arab intermediaries, Middle Eastern, and European officials. So they're trying to say, oh, actually it worked, and now Iran wants to make a deal, and so they're reaching out to people desperately trying to talk to the U.S. The reason why you need to be skeptical of this is because this is exactly what Trump wanted to happen, right? And so you could have somebody just slipping this story to the Wall Street Journal and pretending, see, Trump was validated. They actually do want to talk after they were aggressively attacked and had political and military leadership taken out, nuclear sites taken out, scientists taken out. Like, yeah, they're really in a mood to de-escalate now as they launch missile after missile after missile. Breaking, Israel issues first evacuation threat to civilians inside Tehran. So now, look out, y'all. Look out. Because Israel is about to make this way broader. They're about to go after civilian centers day after day after day. They even point out that this District 3 that they're talking about, it's a densely populated area in north-central Tehran, home to more than 330,000 people. It includes foreign embassies, UN offices, affluent neighborhoods like Golak and Darus. Embassy staff and international personnel are reportedly being ordered to evacuate. So this is... they're going to fucking level the place, bro. They're going to level the place. Israel's going to level Iran. They are all in. They want regime change. They want regime change. In fact, they literally want the son of the former dictator, the Shah, Reza Pahlavi. They want his son to become the new dictator. And that guy's on TV saying, I agree with Israel's attacks, and their attacks are great. And then when the hosts are like, wait, you want your own people to be bombed? The civilians? That's crazy. He's like, oh, I don't think they actually want to take out civilians. They're just maybe doing it by accident. Oh my God, bro. And then finally, at the same time all that's going on, Ryan Grimm reports 9 Palestinians were just killed seeking aid, a number that would make international news if they were not Palestinians. And since he said this, I saw a new report, over 30 Palestinians were killed. Yet again, they are luring Palestinians to a fake humanitarian aid agency, and then when they go there, they are murdering them. Over 30 of them killed just this morning. So we have the final solution is in full effect in Gaza. It's in full effect. At the same time, they announced a total siege on the West Bank. So they're going to take over the West Bank too. They've gone full psychopath, y'all. They've gone full expansionist and annihilationist. They've taken large swaths of Syria. They're taking over all of Gaza. They're taking over all of the West Bank. They're bombing Lebanon. They're bombing Yemen. And now they're bombing Iran. And they are begging the U.S. send boots on the ground. Do an actual regime change in Iran. To say we're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle is the understatement of the fucking century. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.